Like, I wouldn't call it a career, because I think you possibly need to make some money out of it for it to be called a career. But I guess I started messing around with Mum and Dad's Super 8 camera. I made movies with my action figures. So I made 2 movies on Super 8. There was Star Wars versus Grayskull, then I did the sequel, which was The Return of Yoda. The people I stayed friends with after school were people who were making films. We used just to make short films all the time. One friend's parents had a camcorder. So this is back in the days, because I'm quite old. So it was like finding a camera wasn't that easy. Everyone didn't have one on a phone in their pocket. But it was like, oh, Dave's got a camcorder, let's make a movie. So we just made movies, just me and my mates. Here's one of them here. This is a Robin Hood one, VHS. This is actually technically the first feature film I ever made, because it goes for 65 minutes. There was a dude who was in another class at school. This is grade 5 or grade 6, I can't remember. He'd done exactly the same thing, but with Smurfs, and he'd done exactly the same thing. And then he brought it into school one day, and like they had the school sit down and watch his Smurf films. So I spoke to him, and we ended up making short films kind of every year. This guy who made the Smurf movie, his name is David Redman. So we thought, let's get together, make films. It was his parents who had a camcorder, so we're like, okay, well, where you go? And then you'd bring my parents' VCR to his place, and we'd plug them together, and that's how we edited. But that was Strongman Pictures, Armstrong and Redman. When I decided I didn't want to do short films anymore, I thought, well, why go to all this effort to make a short film? Let's make the next one a feature. We parted ways, I guess, in terms of creatively, but I kept the name. He's now called Redfoot Films. Well, Z3D52 is going to be a special feature on From Parts Unknown, so you'll be able to see it one day. It's a post-apocalyptic kind of, I guess it's an experimental post-apocalyptic zombie world film. We were organising a photo shoot, and we just wanted a whole lot of zombies and kind of a cyber-punked up post-apocalyptic warrior woman sort of thing. So we just had all these people organised in makeup. And we found a location that was just out in Altona in the midst of all these factories, and we thought, this is really cool. And we went down there to do a photo shoot, and we thought, let's shoot a film. So there's not a word of dialogue in it, it's all just action. But we hired in a friend of mine, Scott Warwick, who's an armourer. So we got a firing AK-47 and a firing 44 and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a cool little film. Just look in my face. So big up there, broken heart. What if I tell you? When I came, hey, look, Ma, I'm a star. Special for the broken heart. You roll whatever your heart desires. No, I remember why we did Snake Eyes. That was around the time people first started getting your Canon 5Ds, and they first started being a thing for video. I had a mate who had one. It's like, we've got to shoot something on these 5Ds, see what they're like. So we came up with this Snake Eyes project. It's a Faustian bargain kind of story. It's just really short as well, but we did some cool stylized stuff. We had some ideas about using shadows, like Nosferatu with the growing subject here, and his shadow grows in the background. We thought, oh yeah, that shot's cool. And there's some ripping out of hearts and stuff. It's like, yeah, again, it's just on our YouTube channel. I don't know where you'd I've never sent any of those films to festivals or anything. Well, when I was working with Dave at Strongman Pictures, we did a series of films called Peace and Quiet, which is 70s cop stuff. Julian Peace and Frank Quiet. What this town needs is a little peace and quiet. We did a series of those films, and they did film festivals and won some awards and that kind of stuff. And we did a sci-fi called Megiddo Finn, which we then later changed the name to Hero for Hire, which was about 50 minutes long. That did film festivals as well. But this is going back to the 90s and that sort of stuff. I think Peace and Quiet is used, by RMIT in their editing course as an example of good editing. Murderdrome was the opening night at Monsterfest, but I didn't submit it to any festivals. It was with Monsterfest because Monster Pictures run Monsterfest, so they had the screening rights to it, so they stuck it in their festival as the opening night film. It was on here in Melbourne and the opening night in Perth as well. This was in 2013, it would have been. But I haven't submitted Murderdrome to any festivals. I am probably going to submit from Parts Unknown to a few festivals, just because we've got an international sales agent for that one, so it seems worthwhile having it travelling around festivals. But I'm not a huge fan of film festivals at all. I never go to them. So the only reason I would go to a film festival would be to see my film, or a film that a friend of mine had made, or something like that. I went and saw Under a Kaleidoscope, Addison Heath's film. I went and saw Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla, which is Stuart's film, because I know those guys and I want to go support them. But I wouldn't normally go to a film festival to see a film. So I just don't know what they achieve. We screened from Parts Unknown ourselves in January this year and got 300 people along. We screened it at the Thornbury Theatre. It was just a one-off screening. We just organised the venue. We put a band on afterwards. We had some pro wrestling, so we made a big event of it. We made posters. We put posters around, and we made more money from that one screening that we ran ourselves than we've made from having Murderdrome in distribution. And you don't make any money back from going in festivals, so you do it to get some attention. Obviously, that makes sense. But I'm not sure I make the sort of films that are going to get any kind of awards or major buzz from a festival. So it's well, why do it? Just go straight to the audience. And if you're going to do a screening, do it yourself. Nothing against people who do festivals. Obviously, it's the standard way you do it. Put your film in festivals and you hope to get a bit of attention and pick up distribution that way. But with both Murderdrome and From Parts, we just went straight to distributors and said, here's our trailer, here's our poster, do you want our film? And sort of took it from there. From Parts Unknown's the film I made when I thought, because we were doing with Dave, we were doing half-hour short films. And there's not much you can do with them. No distributor's going to want them. You can just put them in festivals, and then it's what was the point of that? This is kind of pre the days of YouTube, where if you did a short film, you could get an audience, I guess. So things are a bit different now. But I decided, you just need to do 3 times as much work, and it's a feature film, and then maybe you can get that direct to DVD. This is all 10 years ago, and 10 years ago there was still a DVD market for do-it-yourself exploitation style films. So it seemed like a good idea. So From Parts Unknown was the feature film. I thought, yeah, let's do this one.
Don't look like a fool. You're just chasing a dream, okay? And yes, it's an odd dream, I'll grant you that, but it's one that's important to you.